Mike O'Meara, Radio Entertainment. Informed, intelligent, irreverent, political persuasions with Mike O'Meara and Chris Frakes. And now, here's Mike.
Well, we take a little break last week, and, well, wouldn't you know it, all hell breaks loose in the judicial system, ladies and gentlemen.
The biggest news week of the year, and we were on vacation.
You know that we're going to have more. You know we're going to have more big weeks, but we just happened to be gone when Paul Manafort was convicted and Michael Cohen pled guilty.
There's another Manafort trial, so we're lucky that way. We get another shot.
Did you ever? And we will discuss that. We missed it, but I would have asked you this last week, and I'll ask you now. Did you ever suspect? Because it seemed to me that as this trial was going on with Paul Manafort, we were just kind of used to it. He was the one. It was a big deal when he first got indicted, and then when the trial came down. Did you ever think? I didn't know until he got convicted that this is heavy-duty stuff. This guy's going away for a good long time. It's stunning how far the mighty fall. I mean, this was the campaign manager for Donald Trump, and now it looks like he's going to the big house for
the rest of his
all
life.
Day, as Sean Connery. You're going away. You're going away for all day. That's Sean Connery from The Untouchables. But, yeah, it's kind of weird. And then Michael Cohen, another... There's the sound. Let me make the Michael Cohen sound. That's the sound of a rat sinking, jumping off a sinking ship. He pleaded guilty.
I think flipping should be illegal, says President Trump. Flipping should just be illegal. I mean, it almost should be illegal because people are doing it to me, so it should be illegal.
Shouldn't be able to flip. Once you pledge your loyalty to me, no one should be able to flip on anybody anymore. It should have.
So it's a huge week that we were gone, but we're back.
We're back.
And there's a lot going on this week.
There's still a lot going on. In fact, we made improvements to the website. I want to let all our listeners know to check out the Political Persuasions YouTube channel. Click the banner at politicalpersuasions.com. Now you can watch us, too. Hey, guys. Thank you for watching.
But Robb Spiewak has a gift for you or something he wanted. Robb wanted to start the show with a surprise
He's
for you.
He's back from foreign lands.
I have no idea what the hell's going on.
Hi, Mike. I'm Robb Spiewak, the Imagineer.
Hi there.
Of Political Persuasions. Nice to see you. How have you been?
Robb, you are really excited about this. I have no idea why you're so excited about it.
Because this is the first time a gift has been sent to this show. We get lots of gifts on the Mike O'Meara show, but I was very thrilled that Wanda Farmer says, these are for Chris. Now, I only have 2, but there's more in the fridge.
All right, he's
so
getting
Wanda
out,
Farmer
it's a beverage.
Kombucha.
Kombucha?
Wanda. Oh, his foo-foo,
it's beautiful.
Elitist
It's what it is, Mike. It is
Look at this.
It is a fermented douchebag tea.
Hey, I'm going to stand up for me and Wanda here. And Wanda, thank you very much. This is awesome.
Oh,
in
isn't
fact,
that lovely?
You know what? Here, I want you to.
Oh, here we go.
Oh wow, Robb, would you allow Mr. Spiewak to have a sip
you, Wanda.
of kombucha?
That's delicious.
Can I try the cherry one?
Yeah, have the cherry one.
All right, thank you.
They come in flavors?
Yes, this is kombucha wonder drink, and the flavor is cherry cassis, sparkling fermented tea.
If you listen
Wanda,
to
this
a couple
makes
of
my
weeks
day.
ago,
This makes my day. I've never gotten a
Kombucha.
gift for broadcasting anything ever, so thank you.
Whatever.
It has a rather rather heady nose.
It's the drink that it's the alcoholic beverage that keeps Chris drunk all day when he's on television.
This literally tastes like a cigarette.
Does it really?
It really does.
No, it's not good.
Chris, you can have mine.
It wasn't for you, Robb. Well, it was for me, and I shared.
Well, you did, and you know what? You're good at it. You play well with others.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Kombucha.
But thank you to Wanda Farmer for thinking of Chris and making his day.
Thank you, Wanda Farmer.
Kombucha. That's not like something you would find in some sort of Asian sex manual or something.
I will say this, Mike. Don't Google it because it's only a few letters off from something you don't want to see.
Okay, very. Oh, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Beware of the internet. Well, that's lovely, isn't that?
That's lovely. Thank you, Wanda.
Wonderful. And yes, we were not here for Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen. And I guess next in the gun sights, the very, very sartorially splendid Roger Stone is next on the docket. He
is a dandy.
Of the Richard Nixon tat between
Yes.
his shoulder blades. Yes, sir. He is the weirdest.
Did you watch?
He is the weirdest of the weird.
Did
That
you
guy I
watch
can't figure out.
Get Me Roger Stone, like the
I did not.
documentary on him.
I have not had the pleasure, but he's something, isn't he?
He's something. He's a dark operator. I did some business with Roger Stone from time to time. And
Did you had personal contact with Mr. Stone?
I have his cell phone number.
What can you tell me about Monsieur Roger Stone?
I mean that he knows what he's doing, right? Like he's a dark arts operator. He knows
As
how
a
to work
Republican Party operative for many, many moons,
for many
he knows.
years. And him and Manafort and Charlie Black they essentially started what was the access game on K Street. They went to work for Ronald Reagan in the campaign, and instead of going into the White House, they thought, we can make a lot of money telling people that we can get into the White House and get their message to the president and the administration. Let's do that. So him, Paul Manafort, and Charlie Black opened up which is one of the kind of first influence peddling shops in Washington. Before that,
lobbying firm, another word for it, right?
A lobbying firm. There had been lobbying firms, but it was always kind of looked down upon to go right from a campaign onto K Street. You did some time in the administration, you did your public service, and those guys just like cashed out and went cha-ching, and that was their claim to fame. And he's since been a dark arts operator since then. His swinging lifestyle kind of hit the tabloids, and that made him a little bit more persona non grata inside the Republican establishment. So that's part of the reason why he ended up latching on to Donald Trump. As he says in this documentary, he's like, if you're a jockey, you need a horse. And I saw Trump as my horse, his way back, and that's how it went. So he's
nervous now.
He should be nervous about the WikiLeaks stuff. And was he talking with the Russians about getting those hacks into the world through WikiLeaks? We will find out.
It is a strange world we live in, and it's
a strange world. But it's like all of that stuff happened last week, and it feels like it was a lifetime ago because it's just been like John Sidney McCain since Saturday.
Well, what I was going to say to you about that is that when you talk about Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen and Roger Stone, who hasn't had his day yet, it's just like I hear about those guys. If I'm hearing stories about them, I want to take a shower after I hear them. It's just the level
so
of
hot and bothered?
sleaze. No, I wish. Because I'm so scary attracted to Roger Stone. The level of sleaze on those guys. You can cut it with a butter knife. It's just sick. And then this week, it to me, there have been many times where I've plunked myself down in front of the tube and been watching the coverage of the passing of John McCain, and a man who I would tell you I have disagreed with on so many issues, but I haven't disagreed on one thing, and that is his level of commitment to the United States and his level of service, and certainly his level of physical courage, something that I think as a red-blooded American male, I'm like a lot of boys growing up where, we're raised to admire physical courage. The guy that won't back down from a fight, the guy that will stand up for his lady, the man that will, the John Wayne type of thing. Yeah. Well, in John McCain, here you have a man that with his career really was that kind of guy. And I have just thoroughly been enthralled with watching the stories of John McCain. And I think it's proven something about America and about the American people, that the reverence that's being shown to this man is not because he won the presidency. It's not because he won the Senate. It's not because he won anything. The level of esteem that's pouring out of the television set for this guy and from all different corners is based on his moral courage and his physical courage, sending the other prisoners, not going before them, not being released before them. That level of physical courage, which had to be, I can't even get my head around it when you're talking about in prison for 5 years. And then moral courage, because everybody sees the clip again and again. He's in the heat of a presidential race, and the woman gets up and calls Barack Obama an Arab, and he takes the microphone in the middle of his campaign, and he says, no, man, he's a good man, he's a decent family man. And that level of courage, and then his remarkable concession speech on the night he lost the election for the presidency of the United States, all of the things that John McCain is being, where his legacy is being just celebrated now, are due to his courageous move. Absolutely nothing to do with what our current president thinks is the be-all, end-all, which is win, win, win. You'll get so tired of winning. The lack of pettiness. And I've learned about John McCain. I've watched the documentary on John McCain, and it's really something to behold, Chris.
Well,
it really is.
Like many politicians, he could be petty.
Absolutely. They all can be petty.
And certainly I agree with all the things you said, particularly it's impossible for me to understand what it's like to be tortured and held in the Hanoi Hilton for 5.5 years.
Amazing.
To have the Viet Cong come to you and say, oh, we're going to let you out. And then say, you know what, the code of conduct is first in, first out.
Amazing.
And I know you're only doing this because I'm an admiral's son, and I'm not going to let you get the propaganda.
Can you believe that? Can
no,
you just imagine
no. And then
that?
they kicked the crap out of him again.
I can't even get my head around it.
Then they kicked the crap out of him. They re-broke his arm when he said no. It wasn't like they just put him back in solitary confinement, which is where he spent most of his time. So that I can't imagine that. And then, you know, he comes back. He does leave the wife who stood by him and remarries Cindy McCain. He becomes a globe-trotting liaison to the Senate as a Navy.
I should point out also that the wife who was there at the State House in Arizona yesterday, that followed the Cindy McCain family and their children with the ex-wife, which is to me, as someone who's been at the rodeo 3 times myself, I don't claim to have ex-wives that would be going to my funeral. I don't know whether it would happen or not. To see that is impressive. To see her on the documentary, his first wife, there has to be something to the man to maintain that relationship.
Absolutely.
He had to do something right with his ex-wife.
He was very loyal to his family, to his children, and that's something that they all said. But, you know, I also think it's always important to put these guys in context. They only, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, Mike, they only get to have those moments if they win. And John McCain knew when he was coming too close and would cut bait. Oh, something that comes to mind. He cared deeply about immigration, a very important issue to Arizonans, immigration reform. He worked closely with Ted Kennedy when I first got to Washington 10, 12 years ago on an immigration bill. He was up for re-election. That became a primary issue for him, and he cut and run. I mean, he basically left that deal, said, I'm not for it. I'm not going to pursue immigration reform, because he understood that could cost him the primary. So there were times when he made political calculations. He's well known.
Of course, we have to mention the Sarah Palin debacle.
Oh, of course, right. Which, you know, he wanted to put Joe Lieberman in like nobody's business. A Democrat, they were told they had problems getting a Democrat onto the Republican ticket at the convention. He said, I don't care. But they convinced him that, you know, we need to put a woman in. It was the first woman on a GOP ticket. Made a lot of headlines, and then she imploded. But that was, but to his credit, to the point you're making, Mike, he said those were mistakes.
Anytime he went for political expediency, I think he was very aware of that. His political expediency moves were he's aware going in that, and he owned up to it, which is, boy, that's rare. You just don't see a lot of that. You don't see guys saying, yeah, I did this, the Confederate flag issue in South Carolina. I did a lot of these things for, the things I did for political expediency, they were mistakes. I love that about the man. That's one of the things I truly love about the guy, is that he would come back afterwards and say, yes, I did do that. He was not perfect. He's the first one to tell you that.
And I think that it also speaks to the ability for that straight talk to continue to be able to serve, to say, yeah, I messed up, and I'm not going to try to spin it or sugarcoat it. I was told that we should say it was a state issue. I didn't feel that way, but I was told that that's what I needed to do to win South Carolina, and I shouldn't have done it. And I gave up on my principles. I told you I'd always tell you the truth, and I didn't. I was asked, what did I personally think? And I didn't answer that question, and I should have. So he does do those kinds of things, but he gets a lot of love from reporters for the Straight Talk Express. And I covered him in New Hampshire in 2008, and watching him in those town halls.
Was he as fun as they said?
Oh yeah, he was a ton of fun. He was more fun in the Senate, frankly. I mean, when I rode the subway train with John McCain. I would be working on stories, and we would jump in, and you could ask him anything. take a ride with me, Freights. Come on, take a ride. And so and he would talk to you.
The public subway or the one that runs between the buildings?
The one that runs from the Capitol to the office buildings.
Cool. I had the pleasure with
Those are
Congressman
fun, right?
Tom Davis of riding that one
great
time.
Guy, a political savant.
I had lunch with Tom Davis on the Hill. Only time I've been in the congressional dining room, and it was just that. By the way, for those of you that might not know this, Chris knows it because he was probably on it a lot. A little train they've got, a little special senator congressman train that they have that runs between the office buildings and the Capitol. It's a pretty cool little deal. Secret little rail system they have. Not secret, but it's a rail system that gets these congressmen and senators to their votes. It's very cool.
Because if you've ever been to Capitol Hill, the Capitol is one building. There's not a lot of office space in it. So the leadership has office space, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, of support staff and others who work in the Capitol complex, and those buildings are across the street. So there is a underground, what Mike's describing is an underground tunnel that you can walk to the office buildings from the Capitol underground, or on the Senate side, you can ride a couple little trolleys that go to the Russell and Hart office building. It's very cool. It's a fun little fact. It's like a little city over there. It's
not the Russell building anymore, Chris Bright. So you just got to correct you on that. It's the McCain building.
No, it won't. I mean, I thought it was interesting.
It's already been changed. It's on Google. Check it. Google that office building, and you will see the McCain Senate office building.
No, though it did not go through. Schumer.
It didn't go through?
No, Schumer. It
was through yesterday.
No, it wasn't. Schumer proposed it, and Mitch McConnell said we should put a committee together to study how to honor.
Oh, for God's sake! What's wrong with Mitch?
I just thought it was fascinating.
What is the deal with that? I thought that was going to be bipartisan, effective leadership. Bing, bang, boom. They take the segregationist off the building and they put John McCain on there. Well, I hate those people.
There's only three.
I hate those
there's
people.
Only 3 buildings, so that's pretty prime real estate. So they're gonna.
Are you gonna sit here and God?
I'm gonna argue with you.
Contrarian librarian. He's gonna go again. You're gonna sit here and argue that. You're gonna argue
Why
that.
not?
Yeah, we should really take some time. We should make sure. We don't want to offend the family of the 400-year-old segregationist that's there.
Don't make my argument for me. That's not what I was going to say. I was just going to.
What were you going to say? Rile my ass up again.
That's how the Senate rolls, man. They are very slow. They're institutionalists, and nothing's going to happen.
Defense. That's how they roll.
That's how
Let
they
me
do.
Write that down, Chris. That's how they roll.
That's how they roll,
Let's
baby.
Let's not do the right thing. Who
says it's the right thing?
I say it's the right thing.
Well,
it's a nice thing to do for the Senate. It's a wonderful thing to do. It's a nice tribute.
There are
they're delaying because they want to do bigger things. That's fine.
P.S.
They named Ronald Reagan National Airport. That took 15 seconds. They put Reagan's name on the airport. Oh yes, it's Ronald Reagan. We'll get him. Boom. We'll do that. Give John McCain his due.
John McCain has schools. He has a ship named after him. I mean, there's no
him or his daddy.
No, him. Like there are schools, post office, ships in the Navy named after John. There's no dearth of things named after John McCain.
All right, Chris, let's get to the bottoms. Why do you hate John McCain so much?
I don't. I thought he was
great.
What
did he ever do to you? What did he ever
Although
do to
I did
you
want to point
personally?
out, I was making a point before we got off a tangent, as per usual.
That's what I do.
That while he was often great to the press, he could turn on you in a heartbeat. He could scream at you. He froze out a friend of mine at his hometown paper, the Arizona Republic.
Here we go.
For a year. He did not talk to anybody at the Arizona Republic. Here he had beat reporters covering him day after day, call the office. They would just put him on hold and never answer again.
I like that. I like that.
Once called on her at a press conference, let her ask her a question.
I really don't. I don't like that.
Called on her, let her ask her a question, and then just, Mike, you had a question? Just didn't answer. Just went. Okay.
But he copped to it, right?
Well, I mean,
he'd tell people he knew that, and
he knew that. He knew that.
That's a year is a long time, though.
Particularly for your hometown paper. Now, he was really pissed because of an editorial cartoon. So Cindy McCain had gotten into some trouble. She had a nonprofit that helped children, and she had been using that. And I might not have the details quite right here, but she had basically been using the doctors or the prescriptions that the nonprofit was giving to the kids to get herself pills because she had a drug addiction.
She's beaten.
So it was a really tough cartoon of Cindy McCain holding a child over her head and shaking the child down for pills that were coming into her mouth. And so
nasty.
He called the publisher, made sure that they knew he did not like it. And then in December, they did the retrospective of cartoons, the best of the year, like they usually do, and they
published
ran
it
it again, and just they were just dead. Everybody was dead too.
Wow.
To McCain. My friend,
what a touching memorial story that is, Chris. That's lovely. That's
you know
Chris
what?
Freites,
it's not a
if you wanna send your
hagiography
letters,
here on political persuasions. It's not.
Send your letters to Chris Freites. This is Mike, the Democrat over here. That's I'm not the objective one. That's Chris telling a lovely story going back to the horrible situation with Cindy McCain. Well, so he was pissed about that.
He was pissed about that, and my friend who was covering him, often as part of her reporting career, would send birthday cards to whoever she was covering, and her and McCain happened to share a birthday. So she sent a little card that said "Happy Birthday," birth mate. I hope you have a great day, that kind of thing. And a week or so later, things started to thaw. And I said, "Well, you think that's what happened there?" It was because
personal gesture,
a little personal gesture, a little touch of kindness. And
did she think that was the case?
She said there was that, and also Jack Kemp was starting to gear up to run for president, and he was going to get on that team. He's going to need to talk to Arizona. Was going to be an important state, so he's maybe going to need to talk to the newspaper again, and that was a way to start that. So she said it could have been political, but it certainly didn't hurt. And little note for our listeners: kindness never hurts. Always goes a long way.
I think that goes a long way in everything.
Absolutely.
My daughters write notes. Handwritten notes are amazing.
Thank you notes, exactly.
They're so powerful, and I never have been in the habit of of handwriting notes. I correspond with people, but I think it's a wonderful thing to do. Cindy McCain, speaking of, she did have her issues. She battled her demons. She came back. A tremendous amount of talk, more talk than I ever would expect about her. What? Can I ask the question first, please?
Sure.
Cindy McCain, any chance she would move, the governor would appoint her to fill out the time before, a year and a half or so before the special election?
No.
For McCain's seat? No. And you don't want to elaborate on that at all?
The governor, my take on this.
Mr. Know-it-all.
Having spoken to some reporters covering this in Arizona earlier this week, I would tell you that the governor feels like it's a 2-year stint, right? So it's not just
the governor related to Steve Ducey. Is Governor Ducey related to Steve Ducey at all?
And Peter Ducey. They're all in the family. No,
the reporter.
That's a U, and the Fox guys are double O's.
Okay, so it's a Ducey, really, or Dookie.
Oh, man, there you go. There you go with your scatological humor, O'Mara.
I'm sorry. So you don't think it's going to – there's not even the slightest chance that would ever happen?
No, because –
what if she started to lobby for it?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's a 2-year – it's
funny. Isn't it funny when it's all closed mouth and stuff like that? It's good. Maybe. Don't know. Don't want it to happen. Don't want to talk about it. Don't want to. Nope.
No,
I
talk
to reporters.
Can I talk? Can I talk? Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Can I finish?
I'm waiting.
You got me Ross Perot in here. The governor wants to appoint somebody who would then have the power of the incumbency and would run again, not necessarily a placeholder senator. It's a 2-year appointment. It's not from August to November. I could see it being an honorific if it was just a couple of months and she was just going to hold the seat till the general in November, but it won't be.
Couldn't Cindy McCain be a Claire McCaskill type candidate? Well, who's to say she wouldn't want to run again?
Nobody thinks she wants to.
Okay. All right, I'll stop this. Trying to get some information. That's all I'm trying to do.
I'm providing it very concisely.
Well, no, that's so. I don't doubt you're accurate with that, and I think that probably won't happen. But it'll be something that's interesting,
and it's a talker, and that's why people like to do it because it's a talker, and people know who Cindy McCain is. They don't know who any of the other schlubs who might take the seat are. So it's kind of like an easier thing to talk about.
Well, the services continue this week, and it is a moment. I will just add this one last thing about the John McCain.
We're going to play one shining moment over this.
No, I really do. You know what? I'm gonna take your cynical attitude, and I'm gonna shove it right where we're going to play a clip from the late great Senator John McCain, and in his own words. And this is some good stuff.
This is good
stuff. I think it's a time we need to hear some good stuff. Let's play the clips from Senator McCain.
I don't know how much longer I'll be here. Before I leave, I'd like to see our politics begin to return to the purposes and practices that distinguish our history from the history of other nations. I'd like to see us recover our sense that we are more alike than different. We're citizens of a republic made of shared ideals, forged in a new world to replace the tribal enmities that tormented the old one. Even in times of political turmoil such as these, we share that awesome heritage and the responsibility to embrace it. Whether we think each other right or wrong in our views on the issues of the day, we owe each other our respect, so long as our character merits respect, and as long as we share for all of our differences, for all the rancorous debates that enliven and sometimes demean our politics, a mutual devotion to the ideals our nation was conceived to uphold, that all are created equal, and liberty and equal justice are the natural rights of all. Those rights inhabit the human heart, and from there, though they may be assailed, they can never be wrenched. I want to urge Americans, for as long as I can, to remember that this shared devotion to human rights is our truest heritage and our most important loyalty.
There you go. And, that's a man who knew what was coming and wanted to leave that behind. And I think that's just, it needs to be said. I think it really does. And regardless of how petty he's been and throughout his career, and he mentions that. That's what I like about the way John McCain handles it. I disagree with John McCain on so many issues, it's not even funny. But I do feel a tremendous amount of sincerity, not just because of the way he said it, which was incredibly articulate, but because of the timing. Now, this guy was doing this because he really wanted people to hear it. I don't know if you've been around people, but at the end of people's lives, I think they really want to clean stuff up. They want to make sure that people know what they're all about. And is there any better example of what he was all about than what that man just said? I think he believes it. I really do think that.
Oh, I certainly think he believes it. And I think, that was his last book that he wrote with his longtime co-author, Mark Salter. That was a excerpt from it. He was planning for this. His whole funeral, this 4-day celebration of his life and his values, were something that he planned out. He planned the way the casket would come into the Arizona State House and when it would go to Washington and then being buried at the U.S. Naval Academy on Sunday. All of that was part of his planning because he understood legacy. He understood messaging in the media so well. And this was, I thought, his rollout and his, you had the book, you had For Whom the Bell Tolls, the HBO documentary.
Beautiful documentary.
You had the senator taking on the issues of the day from Arizona, whether that was weighing in on Helsinki and President Trump's performance with the Russians. He continued to weigh in till the very end and continued to make himself relevant. And he understood that Trump is a foil in terms of values for him. And I think if he had died under a normal presidency, we would still have reverence for him, but because it is President Trump and he stood opposed to so many of the values that Trump holds, that has essentially made his death that much more newsworthy, and the urgency that he had to tell Americans his message that it's about values, it's about public service, it's about morality, it's about respect, and we're all Americans. I think there's a hunger for that message now in a way that there might not be without a President Trump, and it resounds louder and echoes further than it would have otherwise.
And then Cheeto McNepotism played his role as the foil better than anyone could with the entire flag at half-staff. I want to get inside your head about this and wonder, did you speculate like I did what may have gone on behind closed doors in the Oval Office where you got John Kelly running in there and going, Donald, you just can't do it anymore. You got to put the flag back to half-mast.
I didn't want to. I didn't like him. He wasn't nice to me. I'm going to keep it at full staff.
What the hell was going on with it? And then they finally they respond to the pressure by bringing the flag back to half staff. It was stunningly politically
small
and petty, and it didn't benefit him in any way. But then again, I'll ask you that question. Do you think maybe among the people that any Donald Trump slight is considered World War III? Do you think that did play well with his yuck base that we hear about all the time?
Certainly his base, Republicans who are Trump supporters probably weren't put off by that, but I think a lot of everyone else was. And when when you look at that, and it wasn't John Kelly, interestingly, it was Sarah Sanders who prevailed upon Trump to.
I didn't know how it went down, so that's what you heard, that it was Sarah Sanders.
It was Sarah Sanders behind the scenes pushing on this. They had a whole statement ready to go that called John McCain a hero, that would have put out the proclamation, because the way it works, Mike, is by practice, the flag will fly at half-staff on the day of a senator or sitting member of Congress's death through that next night. So it's basically a day and a half. And then if it's to be flown at half-staff any longer, then it has to be a presidential proclamation. And when Trump didn't do that...
SOP, isn't it, for most senators, correct?
Right. It is. And for many... For
cabinet members, people that have served,
but also just for Americans who are well known or who have made an impact on the country. It's just it is a presidential prerogative, and when Donald Trump chose not to do that, because everyone expected that they would fly half-staff through the day of his burial, which is the extended time. When he chose not
standard practice,
standard practice among almost all presidents to afford that that honor to people who have served their country, as John McCain did for 60 years. The picture to me of Trump's petulance was he's trying to talk about trade in Mexico. And he gets the president on the line. And don't get me started on the whole, they couldn't get the conference call going.
Funny.
And somebody,
it was the funny moment of the week. It was fantastic.
Somebody put it to the credits of Veep online.
Yes. I know.
It's him trying to get the call on the credits for Veep running. And then they ask him, did you have anything to say about John McCain? Is he a hero? John Carl
He
of
just
ABC.
looks like a brat.
And he
looks
just
like an
crosses his
brat.
arm.
Yeah.
It doesn't answer.
Anything
Looks straight
else?
ahead.
Anything else?
Just look straight ahead.
And you know what? Somebody on Facebook posted this. The one line that I saw, it was the best I'd seen about that. There is no bottom. And that was the most true statement I could. There is no bottom. No one could even dream that he would go that far. But that was pretty stunning.
Aside from just his own self-interest, which would be not stepping all over his story about getting a trade deal with Mexico, which was important and a big step forward for his administration. It was a success. He stepped all over it by being petulant about John McCain. I think I've heard other people point this out, and of course we can't get into President Trump's head, but his actions seem to suggest that we know he doesn't like when he doesn't get the attention, but he could never get the kind of attention for the service that John McCain rendered his country. And it's driving Donald Trump insane.
That's just too funny to me. I laugh at that because I don't disagree with you on any level with that. But it's just, the thing that stuns me, that his own pettiness and his own inability to be a bigger person and to be magnanimous is going to be the single biggest reason that Donald Trump will never get that kind of credit. I mean, and the thing that always gets me about Donaldo is that this is a man who, the playbook, if I've learned one thing watching this presidency, the playbook ain't that tough. The playbook of how to endear yourself to the American people, not that. The bar was low. Is low for this president. It's still low. He's still got a couple of years where he could at least pretend to be the bigger man. He's not even capable of pretending that he's not a petty man-child.
And the other thing
it's stunning.
He didn't even have to say anything. They would have put the statement out for him. They would have lowered the flags for him.
Sure.
He could have tweeted something, and everybody...
he was the point man for saying,
put it back up.
Exactly.
No, Daddy, I'm not going to put out a statement.
And then the statement he did put out, which didn't praise McCain, but just said, thank you for your service, and they put it on Instagram, was a picture of Donald Trump. It wasn't even a picture,
like a side shot.
It was like him walking somewhere. It was him walking somewhere. Then a Donald Trump quote. It's like, it's about McCain. But it's always about Donald Trump.
Is it the win? We talk about the base all the time. Is it the win because they love the win that much that the base, the people that are supporting this man, 90% among these people, Are they so enamored with having won a presidential election that this man will not do anything wrong? Republicans
have won other presidential elections. I don't.
Where's this come from? Where this guy nobody can acknowledge his man-childness?
Anything to do with the base. I don't think this is a political play. I don't think he thought about it in political terms because, as I mentioned, I think it hurt him politically because it stepped all over some important milestones of his.
Well, that's why I'm talking about his base. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the base because the polling numbers would say it didn't hurt him that much. Nothing hurts this guy.
Well, but
among that segment of
America.
I
don't think he was thinking about it in terms of what the effect would be politically.
It was purely personal petulance.
Bingo. I think it was a personal vendetta. He went after McCain in Iowa and said, I prefer people who don't get captured, when asked if he thought John McCain was a hero. Mm-hmm. And that started off this very fractious relationship where then John McCain would call him out when he thought he was doing the wrong thing. And we all know that Donald Trump demands loyalty, and John McCain didn't give it to him. I think it had everything to do with that and nothing to do with politics.
Yeah, and well, now he can get back to checking on the Google conspiracies and all that, which is where he's moving to now. As the
for crying out loud,
as the slow descent to total insanity continues.
I mean,
with orange hair McCheeto dip, yes, sirree. What is the latest with this? Is this going to go away? Is he going to hang on to this?
No,
is he going to sink his teeth into this?
When you talk about the base and conservatives. He's hitting the right notes with this crowd. So just for our listeners who maybe didn't catch this week, Donald Trump caught on to a Lou Dobbs segment where he was talking about how if you search Trump news, it's all negative. It's all fake news. And so then he took basically the fake news argument, you can't believe any of these people, they only put out negative things about me, to now Google and Facebook and Twitter are all in cahoots through their algorithm to hurt conservatives and only put out bad news about them. Apparently has nothing to do with the fact that some of his top campaign aides and personal lawyers have been found guilty of felonies. Right. Has nothing to do with him being under investigation. Has nothing to do with him slighting an American hero in death, which was happening at the time. No. It's that the social media is bias. So this
goes
from
has been a completely refuted conspiracy theory. There is no truth to this whatsoever.
Well, so all the social media sites say our algorithms have nothing to do with politics. They have to do with serving you relevant results, and that's always been in our best interest, which makes sense. So if you're a conservative and you search something, they're going to give you relevant results for the search term.
And if you're searching for Trump keeps the flag at full staff, that's going to result in the next person that comes and searches. This is not a conspiracy. This is not some sophisticated computer programmer that's like, whoa, how can I put out more negative? No, he's doing that on his own.
He's doing that on his own. He's his own worst algorithm. But when you look at Donald Trump, his whole strategy is, let's say the sky is green when we know it's blue. So this is fake news. So the content he's already said is fake. Now he's trying to label the pipes fake, that the way the platforms you get your news on can't even be trusted. So you need to trust me, El Presidente. I'm telling you the truth. The news media is fake. Even the platforms that you read your news on, that your friends post on, those are fake too, Mike, because
everything's fake.
Now, look.
That's bad about me, but the good stuff about me is not fake. It's real.
It's totally real. Now, let's talk about the problems that social media has. And they have a lot of problems. Facebook has problems. Twitter has problems, in particular with the Russian hacking. They've lost trust among Americans. They told us that they had this under control. It seems like we get a running news story every few weeks about how Facebook, some more of your data went out, or we found more trolls or more Russian hackers trying to influence American sentiment through our social platforms. And there will, I think, become a reckoning, because all of these things are black boxes. the tech that Facebook uses to serve you your newsfeed and the tech that Google uses to serve you your search results, those are all black boxes that they've never opened up to anyone because that's their core business. And there's always been questions, well, how does it work? And they're always making tweaks to those algorithms. And some of the antitrust cases that have come against Google, particularly in the European Union, where startups have alleged that Google dropped their search rankings off the first page because they were competing with a core Google competency. Google has been found guilty of doing those kinds of things. So it's not as if the social media giants are angels and they have no problems. They have a black box that powers their platforms that they don't explain exactly how it works. That will always be fertile ground for conspiracy theorists like Donald Trump.
And it's interesting. We're running out of time, and I wanted to bring this up. So we will. But the way that Trump is perceiving this is not accurate, and it's not. But you're absolutely right about everything else you say, and it's something I think we should all be wary about. The one thing I wanted to say before we get out of here is that because it's my home state, and because I have to make a very embarrassing confession here. I do a show called Political Persuasions.
You didn't vote?
I did not send in my absentee ballot for the Democratic primary. I will tell you this, though.
Kids, he's not a role model.
I contributed to one particular campaign. I did not, and this man who was polling at, I believe, 19% in the primary, the man that I did donate to ended up, the mayor of Tallahassee, Andrew Gillum, ended up winning the Democratic primary. He is now on the national spotlight, in the national spotlight on the stage, and he will be running against, it's the congressman, right, Ron DeSantis, who is, a Harvard and Yale educated congressman. These guys were all over news, and we've already had our first controversy with it. We've had not only the controversy about let's not monkey this up, said by Congressman DeSantis, but then with almost within a 24-hour news cycle, you have the FBI investigation of the Gillum mayor's office, where there are some people that have done very, very bad things, and they're being investigated by the FBI. This is a national election right out of the gate. No waiting. This is going to be in the national spotlight. It's my state. I'm thrilled to death that we're going to have an election in Florida that's going to be in the national spotlight. And I'm thrilled with the candidate that I supported, Andrew Gillum. It's going to be fun to watch, Chris.
It's a Bernie Sanders endorsed candidate versus a Trump endorsed candidate. It's the populism of the left versus the populism of the right. And you're exactly right, Mike, it could be a look at what 2020 could look like. If the Democrats decide to go more progressive and go more Bernie Sanders wing, this could be what this looks like. It'll be very interesting to watch. Some of the numbers I saw for DeSantis were very interesting, that since Trump endorsed him back in December, he made 121 appearances on Fox News and Fox Business. That's worth, Mike, $9.3 million.
Do you have more than that?
Do you have
more than that? I'm curious about that. Do you have more appearances?
Lifetime?
On Fox than
Lifetime? Maybe Lifetime, but certainly not since December. And so Todd Harris, who works for DeSantis, said that the campaign's polling and research found that 52%, so a majority of GOP primary voters, saw themselves as Trump supporters first, while only 37% saw themselves as Republicans first. I found that to be a fascinating data point about what the Republican Party has become. It is Trump's party. They own it, and that powered DeSantis. That powered him to the general election, and it might power him to the governorship. And so make no mistake, I have made some separations between conservative establishment Republicans and Trump Republicans. But I think when you see Trump's influence trickle down to a state-level race like it has in Florida, the Trump takeover of the Republican Party is complete.
It's complete, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the general, because that's the next thing we have, and we'll have our answer just a little over 60 days from now. So we'll find out what's going to go down with this. It's stunning. It really is.
It's
really
Bernie versus Trump proxy fight.
Yeah. I don't think is Bernie going to run again? Do you think Bernie Sanders?
That's a great question. I think he wants to. I think he wants
probably
to.
does.
Yeah.
It's a little long in the tooth. All right. So, did you want to read your letter, or do we have time to read the letter? Or
we had. Well, this was for.
It was the same thing we were talking about. It was the flag, right?
It was the flag, and it was Hui1 on Twitter said, "Please talk about the coloring book flag, where Donald Trump."
Oh, that's right.
Made the stripe blue instead of red, and question if he knew what the flag looked like. So there you go, Hui. We talked about it. We listened to you. You could always talk to me at Freights. You could talk to Mike at The Real O'Mara on Twitter. We love to hear from you all day, every day.
And salute to the late John McCain, and I will be watching all of the send-offs for him, and it's on. It's going to be on to Washington now for the funeral.
It's on to Washington. We will continue to honor him through the weekend. Everybody have a great long weekend, and thanks again to Wanda for the kombucha. Very much appreciated, guys. Talk to you next week.
Rob said it tasted like a cigarette. He's Chris Freights on Mike O'Mara. We'll see you next week on Political Persuasions, or PP as I call it sometimes. I know he hates that.
It's the worst.
Dolphins, like dolphins can swim.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Political Persuasions. If you have a comment or question for Political Persuasions, find us on Twitter. Please tweet us at @Freights, that's Frates, or at The Real O'Mara. Thank you. You can download Political Persuasions at politicalpersuasions.com, iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever fine podcasts are found. Mike O'Mara, Radio Entertainment.